First, thanks for choosing this in the crunkiest moment in the morning, just before lunch. Let's begin. So I'm going to talk today about how I use LLMs in my position, in my daily work, which is not exactly writing code, some different ways for using LLMs. And I just want to say before that, this title might be a bit triggering. I love my staff engineer. LLM will not replace any staff engineer or any engineer. This is what I believe. Actually, we need more engineers now in the industry. So just mentioning that. The funny thing is, this talk was submitted half a year ago, which is ridiculous in our industry, right? What happened in AI in the last 6 months is just crazy. So the things that I wanted to show today, but I was amazed what Cloud Code can do. Maybe for many of you will be old news, right? 6 months is just crazy. Let's see some stuff that changed only in Europe. On the bottom there is one startup from USA and one startup from Israel, but only in Europe new vibe coding startups that I thought worth mentioning. This is only in a few months, okay? And there are many more, and there are many more active than before these 6 months. The industry is booming. Highlights that's worth mentioning in the industry in AI, at least these are the things that impacted my work, things that changed in the last 6 months. MCP became official in some big players. GPT-5 also came to our life for good or for bad. AWS Kiro IDE, which if you haven't tried yet, I highly recommend to try AWS Kiro. It's a new way of writing code. And the most important thing, no need to mention, the last 6 months, agents became a thing, the thing. I wonder if Google searched for agents when it started steeping, but it's just only in 6 months everything happened. Before that, we talked about vibe coding, we talked about context engineering a bit, so it might be even some old news, what I'm going to show here. I think that vibe coding, for developers at least, is that this is something we did a year ago, more than half a year ago. It never really worked. Iteration after that on debugging and everything took much more time, and it was fun while it lasted. And I think we are now at the spec-driven development stage. Not sure if this is where it will stop, but we're going to be more strategic. So if you vibe coding, you could talk to, at the beginning, if you remember ChatGPT, you just copy-pasted pieces of code. Later, agentic coding or vibe coding with your IDE. Now we are with frameworks like BMAD, for example, where you talk to a product manager, you talk to an architect, you talk to certain agents. They are creating several MD files in your repo, and then several developers, personas, agents start developing it, and all should follow the MD files. And then again, I will mention Amazon Kiro, which is a completely different way of coding. You tell it what you want, and it creates all these MD files, all the product files, and slowly it fires agents to build the documentations, then to start building the code. It's magic. And I think we are going to go there. So we are going to become much more strategic with the way we develop code. Our teams, it's a bit broken. Python, what happened to Python is what happened to JavaScript back then. It's kind of accidentally became mainstream. If you don't know these two people in the pictures, but I'll mention Brandon Ike. He wrote JavaScript in a few days. It was never meant to be that big and that mainstream. But then browsers came, computer had more power, the internet became faster, and here we are with JavaScript, TypeScript. So Python is a bit there. So Python was a language for data scientists, data engineers, building pipelines, kind of behind the scenes. And suddenly we need software developers that know Python for 10 years. Python was never a real mainstream API, user-facing or client-facing real-time language, right? It was always more for the data teams. And now, the boom with AI, we need software engineers who did Python for many years, and of course, still the data scientists, the data engineers. On top of that, we need people with the experience of the new tools, the context engineers, whatever you want to call it, that understand how these tools of development are working. That's a whole new type of engineers that we need. So our teams have a bit of that. It's super hard to hire Python engineers that can do APIs. And we need people who can gap all this. So I also think that code as we know it will kind of die. The whole architecture and maintenance, everything will move one level up. I imagine a world where normal web will be user comes, code is written, user gets served, code is deleted. And these whole new tools, we're gonna get one level up, and of course, AI engineering will still need to write the actual code, but normal web will change. So it is kind of the job of leadership now to bridge this gap. So the teams are a bit broken. People need to adapt to new tools. I hear many companies where people just resist AI tools and vibe coding or the new methods. I actually know many NLP and ML engineers who are the most resistant to writing with ML tools, with LLMs, and maybe because they know the system much better and they know how not smart it is many times. And we need leadership to help with this transition. Let's talk about the problem of a tech leader. So you usually go into a room, need to take decisions, need to help, need to support, need to ask the right questions when you are the dumbest person in the room. You are the least informed person. You go to a room with engineers, they know much more about the topic than you. They know the code, they know the language better than you many times, they know they've been in dailies, they know everything, but you need to come there and support them, and it's a bit silly. It's because you are the least informed. And usually what you do, there are many strategies for that, but you rely on someone, right? You rely on the most experienced developer in that room. You rely on the people that you know that usually they have the good gut feeling and the good knowledge and the good, again, experience. And many times, these people that you rely on their opinions, on their knowledge, become your staff principal engineers. And now, it's in many companies, depends how big you are, how small you are, what's the inflation of titles in your companies, but I'm talking about staff engineer. It could be a principal engineer. It could be just a senior engineer if you're in a small company or don't have these hierarchies, that's okay. But if taking the definition from the book, The Leadership Behind Management Track, he said, what is a staff engineer? And I'm going to talk about the last one, the right hand. The staff engineer work closely with director, VP, or CTO, acting trusted technical partner, providing context, feedback, helping to translate strategy into execution. And that's the right hand of engineering leadership many times. So more than 6 months ago, I discovered Cloud Code. And the things that this thing could do, it wasn't like any ChatGPT or Cursor or Copilot. It could understand repositories. It could understand the connection between repositories. It could understand the repo itself without the MD files and everything. It could really understand the big picture. And that was amazing because many times I need to go into the room and I need to understand the big picture. I need to understand the flow of the application. I don't have time to start diving into the code. So I'm going to show some examples, and I hope that the screenshots from the terminal will show nicely on this screen. I'm going to show examples of conversations I have with Claude that help me do my job. And imagine this conversation happening with an engineer. It could easily happen with an engineer. So let's start with one query that I'm asking. We are taking a repository, we want to open source it. So we're taking parts of a repository that we had, and we fork it to another repository. I tell Claude what it should hold, and you see it's very conversational. It's not like any special prompt. And I've done, the goal is to open source it. And please, I need high-level architecture, I need execution flow, and I need to know if it's using standards and which patterns. I'm always in favor of using industry standards and not building in-house solutions. So before I go to the meeting with the teams, or just when I want to get a general knowledge of what's going on, I start talking to Claude. So first thing, I get a beautiful, I'm a visual person, I get a beautiful execution flow, and it helps me very much understanding high level what's going on in this repository. If I want, I start diving in, asking questions, very easy. So this is a fork of another repo, so I'm asking, do they follow the same pattern we had in the original repo, or they started kind of, okay, things didn't work, okay, inventing new patterns and new ways to do stuff that will never match what we have in the original repository. So yeah, it tells me kind of what are the patterns that we are using and what are the differences between one repository and the other repository, which is quite amazing. It can go both, understand both. That's a huge context that we didn't have with Copilot. Standards, again, it's really important for me to know that we're using industry standards and which patterns we're using. So it actually writes me what standards are used there. And again, I can dive a bit deeper because many times it say, okay, it used this standard, but it might have found it in some class. Okay, it doesn't mean that the whole repository is using this standard. So many times you need to ask, okay, but is it, how much percentage is really being used there? Is it open source ready? We didn't have anyone in the company back then that knows open source. None of us had the knowledge how to do that. Give us a nice list. What's there, what's not. Here's a checklist to how to open source what we want. Another example. So we wanted to re-architect a conversational AI platform. It was developed really, really fast in 2 months. Speed was prioritized. That's super okay. 6 AI engineers, developers in the team. And it became slow, which is normal. We prioritized speed over quality. Perfectly fine. We wanted to validate our assumptions. But it became slow. Now, I have some ideas why it became slow. Everybody has some ideas. But I wanted Claude to help me with that. And of course, I told it, ignore documentation. That's the easiest recommendation it could give me. So I know. Let's move forward from documentation. This is Lior on purpose. It started giving me many, many reasons why stuff could be slow. Then it tells me the core issue is a premature microservices for 6 persons. So, and I had a gut feeling at the beginning that it becomes too many microservices for a very small project. And but time moved, and suddenly I get this approval of my gut feeling that, hey, yeah, too many microservices for this project. And that's also amazing because many times you have the gut feeling, but you are not as close to the code, you are not as close to the project than the engineers, right? So you can go with your gut feeling, but here I get actual, okay, we have a problem. And then I can talk to the engineer and ask why and what we can do. Of course, it also gives me some recommendations how to mitigate this. Some of them were a bit BS because it doesn't know how the company works. Some databases are being shared, but it's a very, very good start. For me, that will take me a long time to dive into code and to understand this. But the cool thing is that the current setup seems over-engineered. One of the sentences of the word, or the definition of the words that you hate hearing, right? But I had that feeling, and it became slow. So thank you for the approval, Claude. Okay. Then I'm asking, okay, how can we simplify the microservices? Again, I'm getting some ideas which microservices can we merge. But as I was the one architected this project, I know some parts there which are hairy, some parts which are really complex. So, okay, do you know the intent planner? And this is an agentic conversational AI project, quite standard. So it has an intent planner, gets the user intent, plan how to execute with the agent. It told me, yeah, I can see the intent planner. This is what it's doing. These are the files. I see, okay, things stayed as we started them. Nothing became worse. So the problem is not there. Then I'm asking, okay, is there industry standards or frameworks that can do what we are doing? Because we build it in-house, and I know that whatever you build in-house, there's probably some tool or someone built it before you. Many times, especially now with AI, with agents, I know LangChain and all the things out there, I was wondering, okay, maybe it becomes too slow because we build in-house, we need to maintain it. Can I replace it maybe with something framework that's already out there? And the cool thing, it told me there are non-existing frameworks out there, and it listed me some parts of this intent planner that can be replaced with some other tools, but none as a complete solution, which was a very, very good feeling, actually. We had some innovation. It even shows me what not exists out there, which is, again, brilliant. And then it says, yeah, your system is more innovative than I initially recognized, which is a good thing, good feeling, right? Love innovation, startups. But damn, we need to keep maintaining our in-house written code, which I hate. Yeah, it's less standard, right? We can create the standard, we can open source it. That's a bit later when we are out of the alpha. So why is the complex execution, right? So it started listing me, okay, over-engineered, there are too many modules, too many classes, too many abstraction layers, of course, how not? And high change overhead, so modify here, you need to modify in other places, and this is kind of very high level. We dive more into with Claude about where is the over-abstractions, how can I solve the over-abstractions? This is a conversation that I would have with a senior engineer. But this is where it starts, and we dive more in. That's I think one of the last examples. A new project in a startup that I worked, completely new, and I needed to do the envelope calculation of infra, which is something you do many times, especially in new projects when you're still fresh to migrate, you're still fresh to make these decisions of which infra you're going to work with. So I started a conversation, what infrastructure do we need here? Then Claude writing me, okay, you need the database, you need some computer service. These are the resources that you need. Okay. How much will it cost to run it on AWS? Give me some assumptions. It's high level, again, envelope calculation. You don't need to be precise here. But there's always this physical or the bare metals, the physical service solutions. Many companies or engineering leads believe that that's the solution to make costs lower. We just do self-managed infrastructure. Okay, so I asked, how much will it cost to run it on servers.com? Servers.com is a physical server that you can do it yourself. Then it comes to a conclusion. Servers.com wins. It's cheaper. But we know that's BS, right? That's it. But an hourly rate of a developer is $200. Physical servers require more dev work. So this cheap solution of running your own costs you much more work of developers. We know that. It's not magic. And then Claude said, oh, you're right. I didn't think about that. Right, of course. AWS wins. That's your cheaper solution. And I'm asking it, but also AWS required some dev work. What are you talking about? You didn't put this in your calculation. So, okay, but AWS slightly cheaper. So now I have, my trade-offs are not the costs anymore. I need to think about other trade-offs. Cool. But I also think, and many small projects, startups are ignoring that these are not the only solution. You have more abstraction layers today for infra, for DevOps. Fly.io is a very good example. I love them. It's a nice UI that let you manage your infra quite easily, and you don't really need to know too much about what's going on under the hood, and it's much cheaper, and it saves you DevOps, and it's really magic, again, for small scale. So asking, okay, what would it cost to run it on Fly.io? And then Claude said, oh, we have a winner. Yeah, Fly.io, go with that. This is a conversation I would have with someone else. We will Google prices and compare and make tables. And here I have it with Claude. Of course, I need to lead it a bit, and that's okay. That's super normal. Can also happen with humans. And we have a winner. I have the envelope calculation of where to start my strategy, at least from cost saving. Yeah, there are many other variables into this equation. Fun is always important. Engineers are many times sarcastic. So we have Hall of Fame. I asked it to find me in the repo, some cool stuff. I remember GitHub once, they published how many curse words are in the codes all over GitHub. That was years ago. I think these days they will never dare to do it. But asking, okay, find me funny stuff. And it started doing this sarcastic of finding some comments and to-dos. And some of them, this is not working. but it's not uncommented, so it also adds stuff like, okay, it's test and it's there only for the test coverage, but it's not really testing anything. And this is added to the Hall of Fame. So of course you can also do that. But it's not only code. So we are using Linear. If you don't know Linear, it's like the Jira, that's much more simpler, lighter, easy to use. And so I can check all, Linear has MCP. Let's check all the in-progress tickets from all the teams, all projects, and find me some similarities. You know, as tech leaders, are generally our job many times is just put people together to talk. You know, recognize, okay, this team needs to talk to this team many times. They just don't talk, they're in silos. And here I can automate, find me these silos. So find me tickets that might indicate that these teams should talk. They're even, sometimes it's a bit rare, but they build the same thing in bigger companies. And it can detect that. So it actually found some 2 tickets. One of them was actually correct. Teams didn't talk and they build solutions that would conflict. That was an amazing revelation. I only ran it once. I want to automate it, even to find it every morning, stuff like that. That saved us a lot of money. These were the examples. What I want you to take from this talk is take a look at spec-driven development more than Vibe. Check the Amazon IDE, check BMAD framework, because I think that the market is going there. We're going to write code more strategically. And what I showed you is that think about, it's not only that we are writing kind of spec and the LLM writes code, now the LLM reads the code and wrote me the spec and wrote me kind of the documentation that I need. It went the other way around in these examples, and it really helped me. And the last thing, use LLM to fill the roles gap in your team's creativity. It's not only staff engineers, anything. It's not only code. Anything around the code can be done with LLMs if you think creatively about it. And that's it. Thank you.